Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Google Workspace Recap, a Tab Geeks Network show. Each week we take you through everything announced by Google Workspace, discussing the updates of the week and other relevant news and announcements. My name is Jesse Nolan, my co-host is Steve Larson, and we're here to help you keep up. Now, I don't know about all of you, but good lord, every year, twice a year, my family and I get whacked by daylight savings time. My kids are a wreck, my wife and I are exhausted. It's terrible. The reasons it was created aren't even a thing anymore. When Franklin invented it, it was invented as a joke. So I hope we honestly can get through this episode. It's going to be a shorter episode. Steve, are you awake over there? It's even later for you than it is for me.
I am. I was actually just looking at lighting rental websites here because we're talking about lighting and trying to see what kind of. I was looking at some photos I took at the Big Ten championship. They're using some like high-end Astra, lighting there. So I was just trying to see how much that stuff is. Yeah, I don't know. It's $650 to rent it for a day from the Chicago Film Rental Equipment filmmaker company. So probably a little bit above our price range. But
so when we get a sponsor for $3,000 an episode, I will allocate you a $600 rental. No, I won't.
Per episode.
Let's double that. Well, you get you a Kino probably for a couple grand and call it a day.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm using the Lume Cube lights, and then I've got my nano shapes on the sides, and I'm trying to find that right balance. Last week I looked a little bit like a tomato, so it's kind of starting to piss me off here. But you can see the bags under my eyes from how frickin' tired I am of daylight savings time. Thank you for keeping that alive, government people.
And the other thing too, not only that, but we change 2 weeks before Europe does.
Yeah.
So right now like
confused.
All your meetings that were scheduled with people in Europe are no longer, let's say at 9 o'clock, they're at 10 o'clock because they're the ones. If they're the ones scheduling it, well, their 9 is still 9, but our time has now changed, so it's all whacked for a week. So that
and then everybody gets confused coming out of it. Wait, your time, my time, which time is your time? Which time is my time? I don't even remember. Yeah, did you switch yet? No. Did you switch yet? What about that other country? Oh, no, I'm in Arizona. Arizona doesn't switch at all.
Never changes.
I'm moving to Arizona, by the way. Bye.
So people are, there's some people that are for changing it and the benefits that it has or whatever perceived benefits there are. And then, there's other people that want to just never change it again. Well, I say let's just meet in the middle. Change it a half an hour and then never change it again. And then that's it. I think it's a good compromise.
Yeah, it's not a terrible idea. I am pro pick one, but that's a good compromise as well.
I think going in the middle is even better. I think that's a better choice, honestly.
I hear you. I was doing some reading on this, actually, and I found out that it didn't even come to America until 1918 when they were trying to conserve energy for World War I. And I also saw first. Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Canada, for this wonderful invention. And
all of our Canadian listeners.
Yeah, it's all
There's
your fault.
There's a few of you. You know who you are. You know who you are.
You know who you are, yep, for sure. But I saw a study that was done on this. It doesn't even save energy anymore, so you can't even say that. In fact, it uses more energy. Not to mention it also causes strokes, heart attacks, aneurysms, car crashes, overexhaustion, which causes all of those other things as well. Yeah, it's not good. Anyway, we have a show. I think we have a show. We have a small show.
Barely have a show. I think
that's why we've been talking this week.
That's why I've been talking about daylight savings time so much. Actually,
let's just talk about daylight savings time for 45 minutes and then have a 30-second update.
Yeah. Well, we had a lot of releases last week. A big one, big fat number one update last week, which was around configuring Chromebase for meeting displays, or Chromebase for meetings display to automatically turn off when not in use. That's it. That was the update. One. So we're going to try to sneak in another update here. The update actually doesn't even come out till tomorrow, yet it has been announced. So tomorrow, March 15th, marks the release of the new Drive for Desktop version 56. And we'll talk about the enhancements that it comes out with. There's about four different new features with that, improvements or features, one or the other. And then in some other topics, we did find a few other topics here, one of which is a little bit of a precursor to next week's updates, which also came out today, which we did hear about. But we'll get to that in a sec. The other kind of topics that we heard about in the news with Google include some things with helping Ukraine. We also have Chrome browser exporting too many cells. This is a challenge that I faced this week or last week when I was, after we got off the interview with Alex, I was really exploring all the Chrome browser cloud management features and functionality, and I stumbled across the API for it, which is in GAM. And I was trying to export a relatively small number of browsers that are in an environment, test environment, about 5 or 6 or 7 or something like that browsers that were enrolled. And I pretty much ran into cell limits with Google Sheets because it exported them into, I don't know, like 500 different columns and a whole bunch of rows. And then when I tried to transpose those columns into rows to see it just in a better way, it said, yep, you have over X million too many cells in Sheets, and didn't have enough space. Pretty much everything was blank because it was just 2 columns down and then 2 columns across, but it was just so many that when you multiply the rows by the columns, it was over, I don't know, whatever the limit was, 5 million cells.
5 million cells, yeah.
So there was
not
that
an issue
challenge.
Anymore.
Well,
depending
not
on
quite as much as
how
an issue
big it
anymore. Yes, right.
Honestly, though, if you're at 10 million cells, maybe you should think about using a different tool.
But that's the thing. It's not 10 million cells. It's just because X times Y is 10 million, not because I have that many actual cells of data. It was just because I was trying to, have my couple rows or all my columns going across and then transpose them into rows, and it just blew up. So.
Wow.
So yeah, don't use CSVs in Google Sheets when you're exporting Chrome browser cloud management data, especially with extensions in a large organization. You will exceed Sheets capabilities for sure. Next, we have Google Takeout. We'll get more ways to securely transfer files across services, and that is from a Verge article that Jesse came across. And then a couple other things, actually just one thing, which is 2 different links and times where it's happening, which is the Google Workspace Summit happening on the 4th of May. And they will run that North America as well as EMEA time zones. I think, Jesse, you were saying it's kind of looking to be a little bit more of a sales-focused type of an event, but sometimes they sprinkle in some product enhancements there every once in a while. You never know. So.
Yeah, sometimes they drop something that wasn't necessarily highlighted as much before, or something that is an interesting use case, or somebody who's interesting to listen to learn how they migrated, or how they're using it. I do like attending. Usually I kind of listen with one ear while I'm doing some other mindless work that I have to do, answering emails, whatever. Not that answering emails is always mindless work, but sometimes. It's probably not for the experts in the audience, but certainly anybody who's recently come on board or who is still struggling with certain issues in terms of migrations or getting people to come around. It's always good to hear from other experts and other people who have had this, and oftentimes they have creative solutions to the exact problems that you're facing. So, good stuff.
Yeah, so it looks like there's still some agenda being kind of formulated for it. There are a few different sessions, kind of high level topics of what each session is going to be about. But
it's 50 days away.
50 days away. Yeah.
Still buttoning it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Star Wars Day.
Speaking of May the 4th, exactly. Speaking of buttoning things up, I really hope that they are going to make some sort of announcement on what is happening with Next. Is it going to be in person? Is it going to be in virtual? I mean, it'll probably be a mix of both. Worst case, if it is in person, they'll also have the virtual component of it as well. But I really hope that we are going to be meeting in person, maybe for the first time in October. We'll see. Maybe soon.
I don't know. I don't know how it's going in NorCal or in San Francisco, but down here in Southern California, masks are gone. Events are just as long as you're vaxxed or tested on site. And even in business places, they're not like office spaces, they're not requiring masks either, as long as you're fully vaxxed. So it looks like we're headed in a good trajectory as long as we don't get knocked off the horse by another variant, so to speak. And it is looking good for a really solid and healthy conference season this year. So hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yep. Looking forward to it.
Me too. Although I'm not going to be able to actually attend in person because it's a Jewish holiday.
Yeah. Well, not the first day, right? I think the first day you said you're
I don't think I'm going to be able to jump on a plane at 10 o'clock at night, especially on a holiday where I'm supposed to be eating with the family and eating outside in the huts, for anybody who's familiar with Sukkot or Sukkot, where you, quote-unquote, move out of your house for a week and you're remembering the Jews in the desert and all that jazz.
Wait a minute. Move out of your house. That's a conference in San Francisco.
That's
exactly
perfect, except the hotels don't come with the huts that we're supposed to move into.
I mean, I'm sure they could. You can, sleep on a cot or something like that in the hallway.
I
don't
could.
know,
It's not the same. You gotta have access to the stars and the night sky and all that jazz.
I can give you
it's
one
not
of
as
those
bad as Passover. At least it doesn't come with
nightlight things. You don't know those nightlight things in the room.
I'll just bring my LED strip behind me. That'll cut it, right?
Yeah,
I'll string it across the top of my hotel room. Perfect.
Yeah.
Totally get a sign off on the obligation for that. That's totally a workaround.
I'm sure you can
for hacking Judaism right here.
Yeah. It's the intention, right?
Sure. Yeah. I can tell you, however, that I will probably be up half the night at the end of the first day, just catching up on everything for the first day, because you and I I say usually now, we've only been doing this for a year, but it is custom to do our recap each day. So I will try and catch up as quick as possible, and hopefully we can crank out some kind of a recap episode for all of you for each of those days. And maybe, if I'm lucky, Google will choose not to do all of the Workspace stuff on day one and save a little bit for the next day or the day after that. We'll see. Well, at least last year I was 10,000 miles away. This year I'm staying put. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, last year was all virtual too, so you didn't have to be in person. But I mean, do we want to also? I mean, we've got some new kind of events coming up as part of the network. I'm gonna wait till that solidifies a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, we can talk about it.
Maybe about Chrome. Maybe
we don't
every
have.
quarter.
Maybe we don't have official dates yet, but we will be bringing Alex from the last episode back for a quarterly update on everything that's new in Chrome and Chrome management. So more things to complement kind of what we're doing here and provide more value and more education and interesting things to all of you.
There we go. Nice. Looking forward to
and then on the yeah, for sure. I mean, we could have talked for hours and hours and hours and hours.
I mean, we did. I mean, not only did we talk for hours on the episode, we also had like another hour and a half that we didn't record, that we didn't publish.
Yeah, so. I got up after that and I was like, ooh, got to stretch.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
2.5 hours sitting in the same chair. But yeah, and then on the Tab Geeks Network side, I've got the SaaS Showdown show is going to release the entire first season in one shot. So going for the Netflix model as Netflix moves away from it. It will just be a podcast, but we will be moving to video for season 2. And then it'll be a podcast and a video show. So definitely stay tuned for that. Nice. And there is some cybersecurity stuff that is in the works. So got a whole lot going on, keeping me very, very busy. I'm not going to be hosting all of those shows personally, so that's delegate a little bit there so that I have some more time to work on actual production and editing and producing these shows instead of being, so to speak, on the air. So, but stay tuned. Yeah. Good stuff coming.
Looking forward to it. I'll just get to listen to some more podcasts now because I was listening to the first, I don't know, let's say maybe 10, 15 or so episodes we were doing together. I was listening to all of them, and then I have not listened to one in quite some time. I was actually the first time I re-listened to one was today this week, the one with Alex, because there were so many questions that people had in some of the Chrome channels in Slack or Mac admins. That was, oh wait, didn't someone was saying that group extension management is in the admin console, you can deploy it. Well, no, it's not out yet. It is going to be available soon, and we talked about it this week, in fact. So I had to kind of thumb through
shoot him a link to the timelines. Episode?
Yeah, well, not just the episode. I was like, we started talking about the roadmap at 24 minutes, and the group's update was at like
Nice.
24:30. So I had to kind of re-listen to it again a bit to get those timings on it.
Nice.
But speaking of updates and new features, let's jump into that one that we had last week, announced on Tuesday on the 8th of March, which is being able to configure Chromebase for meeting displays to automatically turn off when not in use. So, kind of the feature is in the title, and you are able to reduce power consumption by scheduling kind of a timeline as to when these devices' displays are going to be on and off. And this feature will be available, of course, to admins in the admin console and end users. If you notice a device is off, all you have to do is to wake the device, simply tap on the screen to wake it up. So that's that update. It is rolling out to rapid release and scheduled release domains starting the day it was announced on the 8th of March on a gradual rollout up to 15 days for feature visibility on there, and it's available to all Workspace customers with the Google Meet hardware devices. And then, looking at other updates that we have, as I said, being announced or rolling out, starting to roll out tomorrow, is going to be version 56 of the Drive for Desktop application. And with this, there's going to be some additional features here. There's going to be pooled storage notifications primarily, which is going to be an added alert when Google Workspace users are nearing their organization's storage limit or at the limit. So this is kind of leading up to the eventual changes that are going to be occurring around Google Drive storage and the enforcement of the limitations that Google has placed on the amount of data that you can have in your organization's Drive environment. So if you haven't heard about this, this is something that has been talked about for quite a while now, and you can no longer have unlimited storage, for example, in your shared drives when you are a single user Google Workspace environment. So mostly this is going to impact me for sure. I definitely have probably over 2 terabytes of data in my Workspace environment, so I will need to figure out what to do with some of this data here. And then some other features that will come out in this new version 56 is that there will be a resolved real-time presence issue where some customers had experienced some problems when they were editing PowerPoint files in Google Drive through the client there. There will be some improved appearance of search box when using multiple monitors, and then a whole bunch of various bug fixes and performance improvements being included as well. So there we have it, folks. Our updates for the week. 2. And 2 is a stretch because technically the Drive for Desktop update should have happened in next week's episode, but we just wanted to sprinkle that in there for you this week.
We did notice the support article last week.
Well, right. That was the support article for the next one we're going to get.
For the next one. Apologies.
Yes. Yeah. So when we were looking at the export of the Chrome data through the Chrome browser cloud management API, the cell limits for Sheets has been increased to 10 million, and that was in a help article last week. I think you said it on Thursday. You noticed that, right?
Yep.
That announcement came today, in fact, on Monday here. But we'll dive into the details of that. I mean, there's really not too many details. Basically, it's gone from 5 million to 10 million. I mean, there you go. Boom.
Ta-da!
I spilled the beans on that update. But that's the other update that happened this week. So I hope they come out with a few more, because I've already given you the 2 of the 3 updates already for this week. So we're down to 1 again, Jesse, for next week at this point in time.
Man.
So
let's
we're
get a
gonna have
guest.
to come up with something there. Yeah. But you posted something here about helping Ukraine. So why don't you talk a little bit about that? Because I have not had a chance to read that article there by Google and what's going on with that. I've seen some things locally happening here. In the kind of Chicago area, there's a lot of different organizations and groups raising funds and money for it. And it sounds like maybe Google is going to be doing something here as well for that effort.
Yeah, for sure. Google actually has continued updating this post. I'm seeing here's a couple of new pointers here that I'm trying to read through that they added since the last time I looked at it. But originally they started out just providing some support through their nonprofit google.org, $15 million in donations in support and relief efforts, including $5 million from their employee matching campaign and $5 million direct grants. So a lot of good stuff there, as well as $5 million in advertising credits for humanitarian organizations, I guess, to advertise to fundraise, most likely. They also did some things like shutting down the live traffic views on maps because from an operation and security perspective, it was either helping or hurting depending on who was looking at it. But essentially, if you had a whole bunch of people with phones that were updating live and there were a bunch of troops and they were congregating around a certain area, well, then it would be pretty easy to know where they were because, hey, look, traffic jam. So they got that shut down, which certainly helped. They've been doing a lot on the cybersecurity front as well. Obviously, there's been a lot of activity on the cyber front, whether it's through malware or DDoSs or whatnot. They have their Project Shield, which is providing free unlimited protection against DDoS attacks and is protecting over 150 Ukrainian websites, including local news and services. So that's great. An interesting one that I saw that they were rolling out was air raid alerts and sirens on Android phones. This is a critical alert that rolls out that basically if you don't hear the big one outside, you're able to hear it on your phone and know that you have to get to shelter. And having lived in Israel, unfortunately, I am no stranger to that sound. It still can give me flashbacks. So definitely, I can't say that I know exactly what they're going through, but I know that sound, and it's not a good one that you want to hear at any point in your life. So thoughts and prayers with everybody over there. Google is obviously complying with the sanctions and shut down their ads in Russia and things like that. But they've also now announced that they are utilizing their offices in Poland to help provide their spaces and resources to support people that are coming out of the Ukraine. So there's a lot of NGOs that are getting set up over there. They're bringing people in, they're helping people out. So using kind of Google's global infrastructure and real estate in a way that generally we haven't seen very much. And they're not alone in this. There's been a lot of companies that are also working to help absorb the refugees as well as, utilize their space for offices or other companies that have employees that are in the Ukraine to be able to provide whatever assistance they can to help them get out or get their families out and things like that. So it's a very different kind of war. It's been interesting to see what's happening, and it's great to see these big companies that sometimes get all too much hate in terms of not doing enough to help out the planet, and many of them are showing up in a big way here. So that's the gist there. We'll have the link to that entire article in the notes, and as I said, they're continuing to update it. I think we've got 2 or 3 updates on here thus far, and so more information you'll be able to find on there.
Great. And then, moving on into other kind of topics, we have Google Takeout being a little bit more secure here, more ways to securely transfer files across different services. So this is one that I didn't quite see, kind of read into. So Jesse, what have you seen happening here with Google Takeout? I presume that this is, maybe more consumer focused. Of course, Takeout is part of Google Workspace as well as an additional service that you can disable, should disable as an admin for those OUs that where you're not using it. But this transfer project came out quite some time ago, actually.
Actually, in 2018 is when they started it up with Facebook, well, now Meta, Microsoft, and Twitter. They announced the data transfer project, which is to help people, quote, transfer data directly from one service to another without needing to download and re-upload it, end quote. Since then, Apple has joined, according to the Verge article here, as well as Google Photos, Mastodon, SmugMug, and some other tools from the original four companies. And the update here is that Google's pledging $3 million in funding and quote-unquote hundreds of hours of work from engineers over the next 5 years to work on the open source libraries that keep the project going. So the goal of this was to make it easy for people to move their information in between services. If you've got a whole mess load of photos over on Facebook, you want to get them into Google Photos, great, click, 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 you're done, and it moves everything over rather easily for you, gives the ability to download it from one, upload it to the other, and maybe even one day just a direct transfer. We'll see. I think that Facebook, you can do that to Google Photos, but not necessarily from some of the other systems or projects that are out there. But I mean, we talked about Google Takeout as a great option for those that are trying to get everything out in terms of files and emails out of their G Suite legacy free accounts. Unfortunately, still no update on Google's plans for that. We are still poking the bear and trying to see if we can find something there, because we're all holding our breath here. I know a lot of people are moving over to some other services and platforms and figuring out other ways of doing it. In the meantime, I'm still waiting. We'll see. But maybe they're just going to say, hey, look, we improved the takeout service, so go and use that instead. So who knows?
So, interesting thing about the takeout service. So I know that, this article references the data transfer project where it was a combination between Google, Facebook, Meta, slash Meta, Microsoft, and Twitter back in 2018. But do you know when Google Takeout was actually announced?
It's much older, I think.
Much older.
The original
yes.
Takeout.
Correct. It's back in 2011. And do you know the team that Google, the group of Googlers, what they were called that created the Google Takeout service?
Oh, I know this.
Do you remember? Do you remember the video?
I know this. It's in there. Oh, there's a reference. Crap, I can't remember. What is it?
It's the Data Liberation Front.
That's right.
Announces Google Takeout. And
I've seen those stickers too.
They've all got their like camo gear and everything, and they've got their computers. And it was announced. Yeah, I mean the video on YouTube posted around June 28th, 2011. I'm not sure if there's other earlier versions of it, but that I think will be the one that you typically find if you Google the Data Liberation Front announces Google Takeout. So that was the little subgroup in Google that spearheaded this.
To
product.
give you a throwback idea of some of the services included in that were Google Buzz, Google
Yes.
Circles, Picasa Web Albums, and Google Stream, Google Profile.
Yeah. Actually, the date liberated. Yeah, that's the date. It's June 28th, 2011.
Yep.
That is when it came out. Yeah. So yeah, Buzz, Circles, Web Albums, and Google Profile and Google Stream.
Good times.
Yeah. I mean, Google Voice didn't come until September. Google Docs not until January 2012.
Yep.
Calendar and Gmail not until 2013, actually. So it was very much a consumer-focused product to start with. And it evolved into some of the core Workspace applications as well as others.
All the things I mentioned pretty much have been killed or absorbed into other things. Buzz famously being their second iteration of a social network attempt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Buzz became Circles or something. I don't remember. No, Buzz went into. What was it now?
Because Circles was just part of Google Plus, and it was the collections of users, and it evolved into, I think, just
Wave went into Buzz.
Yeah.
And then Buzz went into Google Plus, I think.
Right.
Or parts of each.
Yeah, I think Circles just kind of disappeared.
And the Google Plus team were grabbed away to work on Google Voice, and Google Plus died.
Yeah.
Painful and miserable death. R.I.P.
All right, last but not least,
Onward.
to wrap things up, we have the Google Workspace Summit happening on May the 4th. Be with you. And it's going to happen from around, early morning Pacific time, or 11 o'clock Central time, or 8 a.m. GMT time. It kind of depends on where you're going to be at. There will be two different...
What time zone time change you're in.
Right, yes.
Savings
so we'll
time.
include... There are two separate links for each summit, one for North America, one for EMEA. So we'll include links to both of those so you can sign up and register and participate in that. There will be a full day's agenda of events going on. There'll be a keynote, some demos, live Q&A. You'll have quite a few customer spotlight sessions, a few different headlines around different types of workers in your environment and how they're going to be, how they can benefit and leverage the Google Workspace environment. Some collaboration functionality and features. Who knows? They might be announcing some interesting new things there, like they did before in one of their webinar series. I'm not sure if the new inbox experience was that announced in a next session, or was it before that? I think it was before that, wasn't it? It was announced just in
that it dropped as a blog post. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Just kind of got snuck in there. So I would say, keep an eye out for this event. There might be some things being kind of added into those events that are not kind of widely publicized just yet. So we'll kind of recap that when that event happens and see if there's anything interesting that comes out of it. But that will end things for this week's episode, folks. Pretty short one, pretty quick.
Yeah, definitely. And if you hate all this time zone stuff as much as we do, go fill out the petition on change.org to get it addressed and removed.
Yeah.
That's what I did today.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Create my new one for changing in half an hour. See how many people I get behind.
No. There's already so many out there. It's like, all right, if everybody banded together behind one, we would have had this on the ballot already a long time ago. California put it on the ballot, but it wasn't even on the ballot. It was like put on the ballot to vote if we should maybe comply if the other states or the federal government also does it. It's like, okay, sure, yeah, of course you're going to comply. I mean, whatever. That's all for this week. Right. Yeah. Send us your questions and comments on Twitter at Workspace Recap and on our website, workspacerecap.com. Hit the subscribe button and leave us a review on your favorite platform of choice. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time on Workspace Recap. Now I'm going to go get some sleep.